What's going on? This is Notes of a Goon. I am your host, Chris Faga, and I'm joined by, obviously, my stalwart producer, Michael Harrington. Mike, how are you?
Stalwart as ever, Chris.
And we have a phenomenal guest on this show. Mike explained this. Mike described this as integral to the lore of this show. This show was started during COVID, and a lot of it was centered on shitting on Andrew Cuomo. And we have the king of shitting on Andrew Cuomo. Lindsey Boylan has joined the show. Thank you for doing the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing the show. I'm very happy you're here. We're having a fun time chatting about various things in New York. We're talking about Utica tomato pie and why is it cold on top.
Sad.
Yeah.
It seems exciting, but it should be a little more happy than it is.
Oh, I think it's fine. I get why they like it. And the weird thing is they sometimes leave it out on the counter too long and now you're eating at room temperature. And I'm just like, this is an odd situation. But we should get into some of the stuff we need to talk about on the show. First and foremost, our critical, I want to say that you are in a safe space. As an Italian American, I am not compelled to automatically sexually harass you, as some would lead you to think. I'll tell you this, I am a pervert and an Italian, and I still do not believe in committing crimes like that. I'll be honest, it makes Italians look bad. It makes perverts look bad. Yeah. I believe, if anybody doesn't remember, Mike, do you have the clip of Andrew Cuomo explaining away some of the allegations against him? Do you have that?
Oh, I need to see this.
I'm not perverted. I'm just Italian.
That is exactly Andrew Cuomo.
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Now, I have to admit though, when these allegations first came out, I was like, well, this happens a lot, and then I saw a picture of you, and me and Mike came up with the theory that this may be some sort of psyop, and you are a deep state plant to get Andrew Cuomo out of office, because as we all know, I don't know if you've ever seen the best documentary ever created about Italian Americans, The Sopranos.
I've seen a few episodes.
Okay, so we have a clip from The Sopranos pulled up that defines why we were a little worried that maybe you were a deep state plant.
We all know you're a sucker for those Irish girls. Every Italian boy bows down to the freckles.
Now, I don't know if you could tell that Dr. Melfi's husband looks a lot like Andrew Cuomo. He could be a cousin.
Yeah, he could.
So we were a little worried, but then more and more stuff came out, and clearly the man's a piece of shit.
No, he's a total piece of shit. And, the real Irish never work for the governments.
Fair enough. Back in the day, they wouldn't have. Yeah. I have some very sullen Irish friends who are still mad at people for being cops.
Yep.
So
there's that trend there. But yes, I can see why. And you know what? I've been sexually harassed my whole career. I think most women have.
I think that's a fair point.
But he's that much creepier than all the other men.
That's, especially working in government, that's got to be hard.
Yeah. I mean, my second job, I had a man put his hand in my ass pocket. And that was more...
In the pocket?
Yeah, as he walked by. And that was more respectful than the regular environment that I had working for Andrew Cuomo. Actually, let's go back to... The reason why I eventually came forward was I first started like a flaming thread on Twitter where I said working for Friendly's, the whole ice cream diner shop as a high school student, was more respectful than working for Andrew Cuomo.
Which, I mean, the silliest thing that comes up from him is the strip poker thing, which we were talking about a little bit before the show, which... We've done strip poker in this studio with porn stars, and they couldn't play along because they were like, "This is lame."
Yeah.
So it's like, so you were worried that people thought you maybe were making that up because you didn't have something else to say, like.
Well, it was just funny because his dumbass, defense people who are working for him now. Mm-hmm. Am I allowed to say dumbass? Is this?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay, great. So his dumbass people at the time were like, he didn't say anything of the sort. So the presumption is that I made this up.
Okay.
I don't know how to play poker. I've only heard the term strip poker directly outside of, I think, TV, and one other time in my life, and it was in high school.
Yeah, high school, middle school.
I was sitting in the back seat of a car with some, jerk driving me and my two girlfriends around,
Mm-hmm.
On a Friday night, figuring out where the party was, and in a Wendy's parking lot, and he talks about strip poker. That was the other time in my life, aside from the governmental governor's airplane, where I'd heard the term strip poker in relationship to me.
I think strip poker in high school, and again, anytime past high school, it's uncouth to even suggest this.
Yes.
But I think the idea behind it, and I've never done this, but I would imagine the idea behind it is you float. It's like you know how they intentionally word Nigerian prince emails.
Oh yes.
So that if you even respond, you must be stupid.
Yes.
So you bring up strip poker because if a girl says, "Okay," you go, well, all right, then now I know where this stands. But like, feel free to say no. I just want to know where this, like, you know what I mean? Like, but it is like but you don't do that at work, certainly.
No, and you probably don't do that with the fucking state trooper state trooper sitting behind you on the same plane.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was a power play.
State trooper, maybe.
Yeah, well, he was Italian too, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
well,
not making us look good.
No, joke. Just a joke because you brought it up.
I know
that guy.
Well, we were
makes
talking about
Italians
Buddy
look
Cianci
bad.
before me
Yeah.
and Mike were talking about Buddy Cianci before you got here, and we were like, I kind of just every time I said my buddy, I have a friend of mine that is Italian who works for the judge, and every time something comes up about like Cuomo or Fauci or the other Cuomo, who we will also shit on in a moment because I want to see if you have any interactions with Chris Cuomo, who is a favorite punching bag of this podcast network.
Yes.
Not just me, but just the entire network likes to beat up on Chris Cuomo. He like every time something comes up, I send it to my buddy Pete. I was like, "You're never gonna hold office, buddy. Italians should not hold power. I'm sorry. We have to admit that it's time for us to look. You can make the trains run on time, but it's gonna go south at some point."
No, there's some great ones. I gotta step in here and say there's some great ones.
Name
this
three.
This guy's making everyone look bad. It's just like the Irish, you know, like we have.
The Irish at least have the Kennedys.
Well, but Cuomo was married into the Kennedys. So it's all this.
Oh yeah, he was right. He was married to it, but he got divorced.
Yeah, but
Catholics don't
she
believe in
still
divorce.
ran interference for him.
Did she really?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a whole other story. Wait for the memoir, but.
And then
Yeah.
did they say that one of the things was that I saw I read your Medium article about this last night, and what is the thing was they said that his girlfriend, you looked like his girlfriend, and I thought they were talking about Sandra Lee.
Yeah, no, he was. Yes, so.
It was a different girlfriend, right?
Yeah, he said. So I got an email from his right-hand woman who still works for him. He has these useful idiots who stick with him for life, Stephanie Benton. And I had sent an email saying, "Thank you so much for taking me on this announcement trip. This is what I liked about it. It was very like, like I'm being with you, some of the time." And she was like, he wanted me to tell you that you look just look like Lisa Shields. And I was like, I don't know who is that Brooke Shields? I don't look anything like Brooke Shields.
Yeah,
and I go back to my desk and I Google Lisa Shields, and that was a person that he had dated, and we do look alike. But I don't know why.
I mean, I looked her up also, and then it was like vaguely, like not like a lot.
But and it's like
we
why
are
would
both
you
on
even
record as saying, "Come on now."
Oh yeah, I do
Come
think,
on.
I think actually yes. Me and Mike.
That's a bit
me
of
and
a
Mike
stretch, my guy.
Actually,
look a lot
legitimately, we're
alike.
like, all right, dude, relax.
Wishful thinking, my dude.
I'll be honest. You didn't even bring up Sandra Lee. She was on TV. You're prettier than her, but
sweet. But it's just like, why, what? So I don't know who that person is. She's not the Queen of England. She's not someone famous. So I got to look her up.
So now you have to go on LinkedIn
And
to
then
look
when
up this woman.
I find who she is and how he knows her, the message is that he dated her. And what am I supposed to like?
And but she worked for him as well.
No, they just dated.
Oh, huh.
That's the weirdest part.
Okay.
All these bizarre innuendos of like.
Yeah. Kind of
strip
floating
poker.
it out, which
Yeah.
is like not for. And also, you're married at the time, right?
Yes,
Like you have a
yes,
6-year-old
yes.
daughter, right?
I now have an 11-year-old. Yes.
Okay. So at the time it was.
We've all gotten old. And that's one thing, just as an aside, if we don't get there. You look at me and you think like, oh God, she's one of the women that he harassed. I'm the grandma of the group. And the other women cannot speak up because they're either suing him or they don't have the privilege. This isn't the funny part, but look at me
No, it's
and
fine.
I'm the fucking grandma of the group, okay?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
who he likes.
And he is 70 years old, right?
Something like that.
He's an old man.
Nearing that.
I
And he
I
likes
actually have an
women-
unflattering photo of him that I pulled up because I wanted to ask you. This guy leans in to try to kiss you, and how quickly do you how do you not actually vomit in your mouth a little bit? One of the memes I sent you, Mike, just pull that up, and this guy's face is, I mean, I would say grotesque. Mike, what are we doing?
He's disgusting. I don't need to see it to remember. It's like
Oh no,
from
this is a
Halloween.
particularly bad because I want the viewers to see this entire thing and go, oh, why would Why would you even think? You're an old man. Can you not pull it up, Mike? Oh, here it is.
Oh,
So-
God. Yeah, he's scary. He's
Yeah.
scary. It's scary.
And I made the joke that he looks like the Steeplechase Park mascot from Coney Island. But like, how do you not? This guy tries to kid. How do you not think you're in a Dick Tracy cartoon immediately?
I thought I was in like a horror film.
Like the whole time.
Yes.
Now, did you know about other people that worked there that this was going on with them too, or was it like
You knew that he didn't know how to be appropriate with women. So he either
Okay.
thought they were hot or he thought they were ugly.
And so he was very blatant about saying that just to people in general.
It wouldn't be directly. Sometimes it was said.
Okay.
It was just more like, I'll give you an example that I know about from some of the pieces that I did read from the report.
Mhm.
And it would be like some young, beautiful woman would have her first job out of college, and he'd be like, he's going to steal you. That's what the other assistants would say to this woman. Several times it happened to different women from
Okay.
the report. He's going to steal you as soon as he sees you. I mean, how fucking creepy is that?
As soon as he sees you is yes, that's what makes
How
it
creepy
very
is that?
very creepy.
And by the way, they're probably all really smart
And they're-
because they're working in the state of
Yeah. Who would have guessed that guy?
Yeah,
could
and
be-
it's very scary. So what do you do? What do? You say, no, thank you. I don't want a big job. I don't want to be in this space.
Yeah, would you not? Yeah, because you're there. I mean, like, so you're talking about a 23-year-old girl, essentially,
Yes.
right? Like, out of college.
Not even. They could be like interns during college.
So
They did all these
1920 even.
fellowships. Yes, some of
Okay.
them.
So, and it's like, but like, I was actually talking to somebody about like, when you're a kid and you have a problem, like recently, it's like, well, it's their whole world, right? Like, so it's like, you're 19. This is the career path you've dedicated your college life to. You don't have a frame of reference of you can get something after this. So it's like, that is your whole fucking thing.
Right. And by the way, it kind of is the whole fucking thing
Mhm.
because
Because he's the governor of the state of New York.
you know what people would do? Very senior people,
Mhm.
if they would want to leave that job, they would be like, don't tell him that I got this other job because if he finds out, then he'll kill the opportunity. This was a
Oh.
real thing. It
Jesus.
wasn't just that people felt like it was the whole world.
Mhm.
It kind of was in politics.
He didn't want anybody leaving where he
Yes.
was to go anywhere. Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes. I mean, when I
It's the Italians. It's just
When
all
I-
mob shit.
when I finally left and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to make waves. Eventually, I'm just going to try to do my own thing. And I said I'm going to run for office, run against Nadler.
Sure.
I did reach out to Bill Mulrow, who is now continuing to cape for him.
Okay.
And I said, is this going to be a problem? Is he going to put some roadblocks in my way? And he said, well, he still loves you, right? And I was like, that was so fucking weird that you just said that.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
say it at the time. He seemed to want to say it in like a very friendly way, but I found that was so odd.
What's an inappropriate way?
A totally inappropriate way to say he's still like,
It's a work situation. You could be like, you could easily say he still admires your work. Like, it's a
Yeah.
very easy. I thought of that in 1 second. I just want to point out, did not go to college, folks. Don't have a law degree.
I mean, I've dealt with a lot of lawyers now that I never thought I would, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough. Fair
Not
enough.
a fan.
Fair enough. But you brought it up. So yeah, you primaried Jerry Nadler, who
Yeah.
at the time it was the 10th district and now it's the 12th district,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
and
they
that is,
districted.
I bartend in Kensington, Brooklyn, one
Yeah.
day a week.
Yes.
So it was part of that district.
I spent some time there.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Shenanigans?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
That is where I
did.
work on Tuesdays.
Maybe you served me.
No, it was before that. I have only been there for a little while, but it's an interesting thing because it's been gerrymandered again since, so it's even a different district now. Like
Yes.
it's like, and I've heard you talk about this, where you talk about like there is an inherent corruption in New York politics,
Huge.
which and it's an odd thing because on a national level, people do, and particularly people in New York, 'cause I grew up here, like to think of Republicans as the party of corruption.
Yeah, well, it's
Well,
an
I mean,
equal opportunity.
This is what I
situation
mean.
in
It's
New
more
York.
of an equal. As far as I know, the Democrats in New York were hit with malicious gerrymandering charges, and they stuck. And it's never happened to the Republican Party nationally. And a lot of that is just so these guys can keep their seats, right?
Well, and the reason why we had these ultimate congressional redistricting maps was because courts found that the Democrats did it in such an unfair way.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and I just listen. Unfortunately or unfortunately, some of my best allies when I came forward because people didn't want to go against the really powerful Democratic governor,
Okay.
were some Republicans that I had known from my economic development work, or were some
Okay.
people that just said, I remember her. She's not a bad person. She's works real hard.
Okay.
And I think it's really sad that you have a one-party town and a one-party state simply because they feel the machine politics aspect of it feels no necessity to actually prove themselves to their people.
Well, that's another thing is you did this. So Nadler's been in government since 77.
Yeah.
92, he took office
Yep.
in Congress, right? And so he's been, there is no, and it's an odd thing. I want to bring up how he got in there, which is funny to me because of the show. But there's this thing where in New York, it's a one-party town, and a lot of that hinges on women's rights.
Yeah.
And just the Democratic Party kind of nationally being seen as the party of women's rights, and they are as far as reproductive rights go. It's irrefutable. But then something like this happens, and you guys kind of get, I don't want to go into direct things, but like you guys get like smeared and like dragged through the mud on this shit, and it's like, and it is this thing where it's like, well then fucking what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, well, now where do you go? Like, and it's like, and there's not really, I don't know the answer. I guess the answer is a heavy series of primarying these people.
Yes.
Let's hope that that's what that is. But you even mentioned I'm a sitting county committeeman currently.
Yes.
Jerry Nadler got his seat. Did I hear you say on a podcast earlier that he got his seat by renaming a building after somebody so that the county committee would endorse him and give him the seat?
That's kind of part of the political power process that he did. Yes, he got it through county committee because the sitting member of Congress died.
Okay.
And he basically wrangled county committee to do it. And so this whole idea that people challenging the sitting Democrat are somehow anti-democratic or somehow any less concerned with what's going on or any less concerned with the community is total bullshit.
And this
I
is
think
also
it's sad.
We're talking about back in 1992 where there was like, so now I'm on county committee through a organization called New Kings Democrats, and
I love New Kings Democrats.
Yeah, so their thing is that
Really great leaders.
Yeah, they're great.
Good job.
And then what they really are trying to do is get people to be like, hey, like just so you know, this is happening. And most people, I've lived in Brooklyn my entire life. I found out about county committee 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it is this thing where it's like people don't know it's there, and then also I see people get, because of how now it's not just the entrenched people who've been doing it their whole lives. Yeah. It's new people who are getting there. And when I go to these meetings and nothing is happening now, you see people who are there for the first time and they're going, I went in jaded. I went in with the comedian eye and being like, this is going to be funny. And I literally drank a 40 at the first in-person meeting I went to and yelled rabble, rabble like an episode of South Park from the back of the room. And to the point where a guy named David Krupkin, who I went to high school with at Brooklyn Tech, came up to me and goes, Chris, I don't know why you're here, but that is very funny. Please stop. And like I was like, I won. He's like, I saw your name on the rolls. Like, I know you won. Like, it's fine.
It's actually kind of amazing that happened. I'm glad you did that because it shook it up. But you know what? The funniest things about our primary process in the city and the state is Democrats don't traditionally, I'm not saying New King Democrats because they're very good and I'm a big fan, they don't want you to vote. They don't want new people to come in and participate. They want to have the guarantee of their regular voting rolls. And in fact, members of Congress have a role in playing which buildings get polling places. I mean, it's all connected. Well, I mean, it's not like, reading rainbow stuff, but it's part of it. And it's not set up to entice more people to engage. It's, part of our closed primaries. Okay. That's why we shut off registration dates for primaries. We have all these things that make it harder for people to vote. I mean, why do we have primaries in a one-party town in June? Right? I mean, think about how many people are away. They don't traditionally, people are not wanting more people to participate because it's less predictable. So the fact that New King Democrats and what you're doing, they didn't want you to know. It's not because you were like somehow missing all of the information. Okay. It wasn't put out there intentionally. They didn't want you to participate unless it was part of a group that could be controlled.
And now the people who have been there forever kind of are like, so what I was trying to get at is so newer people come.
Yeah.
and they're disheartened by the fact that they think they're going to get to participate in this thing. And for almost the entire time I've been there, it has just been argument after argument about parliamentary process, which the average person
doesn't care.
Doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who's been in politics most of my career, I did parliamentary procedure during community boards and when I was in college and I was like student body president, and it's honestly the bane of my existence. So I don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why people focus on that. But at the same time, when you're looking around at the world and it's going up in flames, it just kind of makes you feel furious, right?
Yeah,
so
of
I can
course.
understand that.
There's nothing worse than a bureaucratic roadblock when you're dealing with a real life problem.
Yes.
So like my brother's disabled, and I'm trying to get him OPWDD disability stuff.
Which is actually it's not easy to do.
It's not easy, and here's the thing: my brother got injured when he was very young, and my family just didn't keep any records. There's nothing there. I just found out that this existed, and I'm just trying to figure it out now. And
doesn't that make you so mad that you didn't know that, because there could have been so many more resources to make life easier for him and for you, for everyone?
30 years. I mean,
but that's not your fault. That's not your family's fault. That's everyone else's fault.
It's the system around it, and it's been there. And so I call, and basically they punch you off. When you call OPWDD, they punch you off to an independent, of these,
a contractor of sorts.
A contract. Yeah, there's 2 in the whole city that still take these applications. I talked to one person, and they literally go, I'm like, look, there has to be some way around this. Like, and I only base that on the fact that I was told by a fire commissioner, like, if you need a variance for your commercial kitchen, just call me when the paperwork is on the guy's table. So it's New York. So I know there's a way to do it.
Yes.
Just tell me how to do it.
Yes.
And the lady was like, and I didn't say it like that. I was like, there must be some way to get an exemption for some of this stuff. The hospital my brother was admitted to for traumatic brain injury was St. Vincent's. It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh my God.
And so it's like, she was like, sir, if you're going to be unprofessional, we can end this phone call right now. And I go, oh, I guess you get paid no matter what. So it doesn't matter.
You
Like,
just
it's
triggered
like,
me. You just triggered me.
Yeah.
That's so terrible.
Yeah, it was not fun. I'm figuring it out. I will get there. But
but how frustrating is that? Especially, you know how the system works now to the extent that someone can.
Yes.
And it's hard enough for you.
Yes, exactly.
That's why it's especially worth talking about.
Oh,
That's
100%.
insane.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Use that terminology. I'm trying to move away from it, but that's not right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I understand. Well, yeah, that is like a big issue of yours, is like mental health going forward. And
so
I know that was like a big part of what you ran on when you ran against Nadler. And so it is something I'm curious about, is how, in your mind, how would that look? Because I have gotten psychiatric evaluations. I'm not like shy about talking about it. But the first time I ever got one, I felt like I was on a choose your own adventure book where the answer was always going to be Paxil.
Yes.
And it was disheartening. So what would it look like to you, honestly?
Well, I honestly think the first movement in this country was to move away from solariums and things where we put people who were dealing supposedly with mental illness, which is...
This was the Reagan thing, right?
Way before that,
Okay.
Turn of the century.
Okay.
Well, when he moved away from it. But yes, we used to put people who were experiencing mental difficulty of any sort, like I could have been a feminist and be like, you put her in there.
Frigidity, they would have called it, or something like
exactly,
that. They were selling, what was the thing? Is that Mad Men where they were selling vibrators to women with hysteria or something?
Hysteria. Yes, I would have had hysteria. But there was a movement away from that. And so we have all of these places upstate that are former institutions that they're trying to figure out what to do with now. Some of them are clubs, now some of them are hotels. Very, very modern and
mostly
interesting.
ghost catching shows?
Yeah, something like that. Like in Miami, there's a guy who does that. He's kind of a jerk. He's on Instagram. But anyways, moving on.
Wait, you're telling me a ghost hunter from Miami doesn't have the best personality?
He's a big Cuomo fan. But anyways, yeah, I shouldn't go here. But like we moved away from that movement, which was important because we were taking away people's agency.
Okay.
But there was nothing to replace that in terms of services. And then what was the next thing that came up? 2 things came up that we had in place. One was prisons, which is
Clearly.
that ever good? No.
No, it's only going to make you worse
Right.
if you have mental illness.
Exactly. You're going to have trauma on top of trauma, and probably people who don't even need to be there. I think a lot of people don't need to be in prison.
I would argue that the vast majority of people in prison do not. Certainly don't need what the current prison system is.
I've had a family member, a sister who was in prison, and she really just had a mental illness, and it became worse. But anyways, that aside, and the other thing we started to have was pharmaceuticals, and those are the 2 things we dealt with.
Yes.
And we didn't throw anything else at those problems. We had early innovation in pharmaceuticals, but not that much to deal with long-term how we were impacting people's lives either.
Okay.
We threw we either said talk therapy eventually, or we said, here's your meds. And we didn't do anything else. We didn't do wraparound services. We didn't do.
No, what do you mean by wraparound services?
Okay, well, a lot of people.
Because Mike is a pervert, and he's thinking reach around services, and that's not what it is.
No,
Mike. It's not
not
reach
for
around
you.
services,
No,
Mike.
I'm way more fat than I am preferred. So I was thinking wrap around. Like, all right, what are we talking here? Spinach wrap, sun-dried tomato.
You have never eaten a vegetable.
Well, think about it this way. Like, I mean, a lot of the reason people feel fucked up is because the system is fucked.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I've said it recently just to, people, I hate when politicians are like, look at this sad person. That's not me. And they're the example. Well, what I've gone through the last few years is pretty fucking traumatic, but it's very normal to be traumatized by it.
Sure.
It's very normal to be traumatized by a system where, let's say, you lose your job and then you lose your health care and then you lose your house. You're going to have some mental issues around that to grapple with.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be least well positioned to actually deal with them because you're not going to have the finances. You're not going to have any of the things that our country forces you to have to get good mental health care.
Okay.
So when we talk about wraparound services, maybe what someone needs when they go to a food pantry is access to basic social work care. Maybe what they need when they access housing,
With Section 8 housing or
options.
something.
Yes. By the way, Section 8 housing takes years to get access to.
Sure.
And that is enough alone if you've got kids and you're waiting for years to give you mental illnesses to deal with.
Yes.
I would have mental illnesses if I were waiting for years to get Section 8 housing and I had 2 kids and I was a single mom.
Yeah.
That didn't happen to me, thank goodness, but
Well-
it happened to my mother, and that's, it's all the cycle of things.
Well, so it is a thing where it's like when you're, so you say your mother, it's like, I remember my grandmother, she was retired to take care of me and my brother. My mom was honestly undiagnosed mental illness, but
Probably from some of the things that happened to her in her life, right?
could be. I mean, it might be. I honestly, personally think it's genetic, but
Yeah.
she had some issues. I watched my grandmother, and she was trying to get services for my brother, and then just figure stuff out. She's on Social Security. She worked her whole life. She's got a very limited pension from the Board of Ed, and then she's taking care of us. And the amount of time she spent on the phone trying to get through to anybody to get an answer on what she's supposed to do next was a massive part of it was a part-time job. So if you were looking for a job and you had kids,
full-time job. I bet you it was kind of an additional full-time job.
maybe it was. I'm just saying, from my it's kind of hard. You're taking care of kids, and then on top of it, you're dealing with this thing is the thing that's helping you take care of your kids, and it's eating up so much of your time and just mental energy.
Yes.
In all honesty, think about how many jobs exist that are people sitting on the phone frustrated all day.
Yes.
That's a lot of jobs in this country at this point.
Yes. And listen, there are serious mental illnesses that are genetic. There are serious, personality disorders that have very specific needs, right, pharmaceutical wise and care wise. But I want to broaden it more than that when we talk about how the systems we have in place actually bring on a response from our mental part of our body that makes us ill. If we get sick because of a physical environment, how is it possible that the same doesn't happen because of the environment mentally? And I only say that to add another layer of who should be the recipient of mental health care.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting, because some people aren't comfortable, particularly from certain generations, certain cultures, with, let's say, talk therapy. I'm just saying you should be able to avail yourself with, let's say, if you're a new mom and you're a single mom.
Okay.
In other countries, we have access to a social worker whose focus is not on considering whether or not you should have your children taken away from you.
Okay.
I've
talked to Lenore Skenazy. Lenore Skenazy, the free range kids.
No,
woman?
I
Oh,
don't.
it's honestly a great movement. She's the person who's like, you should be allowed to let your kids walk to the store.
I mean, they do that in Tokyo, in a massive metropolis.
They used to do it in this city. You used to be able to go with a letter saying, please give this kid cigarettes, signed my mom.
I guarantee you my dad did that in Astoria growing up.
I'm sure.
I mean, I just think I try to broaden who is the proper recipient of mental health care because it's health care. And that's the proper way to think about mental illness, which is something at some point in each of our lives we will all suffer from, whether it's episodic or if it's systemic and lifelong. The idea that we separate ourselves from that. I mean, again, I'll go back to one more example with me, and then I know I talk too much, and that's what we do in politics, especially if you're a woman, because you're just like, I gotta get it in. Everyone else is,
This is an open forum.
You know, trauma therapy is great. That's the only you see people are like, oh, it's so great that she's sitting out here talking about this stuff. Trauma therapy has been great. I watch these little things go across the screen, and then I talk about traumatic things related to what's happened.
Okay.
And then I feel better. And then I come on shows like this, or I answer questions, and I'm like, I know what I want to achieve, and I feel good about it. But I got to that place because of good mental health care. And you know why I got access to that? Because I have the ability to pay for it. And you know who has the ability to pay for it in this country? Very few people.
Sure.
And that's bullshit. And if I've experienced difficulty because of just this example that everyone knows is why I'm using it, is the only reason why I'm using it, then think about what happens to people who don't have all of this ability to help
people
themselves.
who couldn't leave the job.
Yeah,
also.
couldn't leave the job. Didn't have help making sure that when they were on calls with lawyers, their kid was not worried, not stressed.
Yeah.
All of these things. Didn't spend 42 hours of the month trying to get an attorney to represent them for no money. Probably like what, most
Which is hard.
women.
I mean, like, yeah, you have, like, all right, so you have, like, I have friends who are good labor lawyers, but they are working on contingency, and there are a lot of these cases.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I mean, we should just go there because we got to roast Cuomo, right? Because he sucks.
You gotta shit on him.
But I heard that raps are better than roasts, right? Is what
I did tweet that earlier today. She is not kidding. She did the work, folks.
So I'm not going to, and I did do a roast, but it's actually very hard because
I'm not going to ask you to rap. I would never
well,
ask an Irish
mean,
woman to
no,
rap
don't,
ever.
don't.
I think that's culturally insensitive.
She is wearing that
Culturally
Dickies coat.
insensitive,
She is wearing that
well,
coat.
Look, I'm very cool like this. I came here this way. Where was I going with that? Oh, so Cuomo spent $60 million of taxpayer money just to
16 or 60?
60.
Jesus.
60. And by the way, this is all pre-trial for all of these various cases. So whether we talk about nursing homes, we talk about the 3 women who are either suing him directly or in one case suing the state for civil rights violations that he committed and his staff committed. It's pre-trial, and it's $60 million of taxpayer money. And none of the women who are suing him are having their bills paid for by the state, even though they are.
Well, you spent over $1 million of your own money, correct?
It's more like twice that at this point, yeah. And I'm not a party to any of these cases.
And you're not suing either.
not
You're not.
su-
There's
you
no
know,
windfall at the end
I
of
know,
this. This
it's
is not
not-
an investment.
And I this is not a value judgment. I didn't want to have anything to do with that guy. He's a piece of shit, and I hate him,
Sure.
and he's disgusting. And
You don't want to be buying your
I
kid
don't
clothes
want
with
my
his money.
name. He doesn't have any money. I mean, he keeps like putting out in the papers, I think indirectly because he's got some weird I don't know, like masculinity issues that he does have money. He keeps having rich as
I thought he had nipple rings.
Oh, I don't want to go there. But I don't want anything from him. I don't want my name associated with him. It's already associated with him enough. Why would
That's
I
true.
want that? Ew, gross, barf. And honestly, the last thing in the world I would have wanted was to have to be doing this work. I wish we were talking about, anything better than this monster, but he needs to be taken down again.
Sure.
So I didn't sue him. I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't need anything from him. He's the one who has the needs from other people.
This is a question I want to ask you. Do you think it's ironic because I've heard you talk about like the fact that he's got potential criminal charges from his handling of COVID.
Yeah. He's a liar.
And a lot of people, well, I would think so well before any of this stuff with you came out, to me what immediately disqualifies you from running for further office is spending $35 million of taxpayer money to rename a bridge after your father.
Yeah.
I
mean,
that
such
in and
a
of itself.
phallic symbol. Like, I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah. But like, then this stuff with COVID comes up, and like, is there a thing where it's like, so he was obviously thinking about running for president, and they didn't think those things would disqualify him, but when they got to you, it did.
Yeah. So I think what happened there because people are like, why did you speak up? Was this for your benefit in your campaign? I'm like, yeah, sure. That was really beneficial to me. I would love to have the entire party infrastructure of the state come at me and smear me. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's not going to help you win an
Yeah.
office. I'm not.
So,
I'm not
exactly.
even saying that. I'm
no, and I
actually
know
just
you're
trying
not.
to-
I'm
yeah.
just like putting that aside. So I originally came forward because I got a call from a young woman who's like, I'm basically her grandma age-wise.
Okay.
Not exactly, but she's much younger than I. So look at me and think much younger, much more, like compelling, so to speak. Because I'm just a proxy for all these other women. And she said he did these things, and I knew immediately that he had. She kind of looks like me, except much younger. He has a type, like you've already pointed out there. And then like a few days later, I'm thinking to myself, oh God, that's really shitty because I didn't say something. This woman worked there after me. She's much younger, and this happened to her, and I felt like shit because I was kind of responsible.
Sure.
But then,
Well,
getting back-
you're not responsible.
I felt that way.
You shouldn't be. Well,
I've
I understand.
got the
I
Irish
understand the
guilt,
feeling.
the Irish Catholic
Sure.
guilt. We go to, I have that. And
No, I know.
feel that.
I hooked up with Catholic schoolgirls in high school. that went
So
to
I
all-girls
felt
schools.
that. So I was like thinking about that. My husband's like, you don't have to be the one always, Lindsay. I'm like, well. And then they're floating his name for attorney general
Okay.
under Biden.
Yeah.
And I'm in politics, so I know why people float names.
Mm-hmm.
They put a bubble out there to
I
see
see.
if there's a fucking Lindsey Boylan
Mm.
and other people who are going to find a problem with this person. They
Okay.
float it to see. They know he's a bad guy. The Clintons know he's a bad guy, in my view.
Well,
You don't work.
takes one to know
Exactly. You do not work around a man like this, your career, without knowing who he is. He's a piece of shit.
one. I mean, look,
He's
him and Bill
no
Clinton
respect
probably
for-
high five on a regular basis.
Listen, we could even go there with all that. They're both bad men. So you put the name out there in the press, not because you're not sure what they've done necessarily, but because you're wondering if anyone's going to say anything about it. If you're going to have a problem when you nominate this person potentially.
Gotcha.
And so I just had spoken to this young woman. I hear this, and I'm like, I'm in the car with my family. They're like, this is such a nice day. And I'm literally tweeting, this man is a sexual harasser. Not even thinking about it. That is how it went. I'm in the car. I'm not telling anyone else. In a way, it's deeply selfish, and I have to think about that because I'm just like, I got to do something about this.
Sure.
But that's
And
how
maybe
it
you could
happened.
have waited 2 hours, but
But I'm an impulsive
were-
Irish person,
you're
so
gonna do it no matter what. Speaking
you
of
know.
which, where are our beers?
yeah. But
Get us some tequila if you're not gonna get us beers.
so, anyways, I don't know how we got on this topic. I interrupted you. That's what I do sometimes when I'm excited. But anyways, you were saying like, how did they not know? They knew.
Okay.
They were wondering if someone was going to make a problem about it because a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
guys from a certain generation are like this.
I see.
And certainly from the Clinton era. I mean, who's the former governor of New Mexico? Gosh, I can't think of it. He had a lot of problems too. There's a lot of guys who had a lot of problems. He's passed away now. He
Okay.
was the first HUD director before Cuomo. I mean, they're probably messaging you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. That's not me or you.
No, that's
No, that's me. Anyways, what's his name?
You got
Richardson.
Richard. Okay.
So, he had all these problems too.
Okay.
He was kind of a bad guy, especially, around
I mean, is it a
women.
thing where bad guys get into these fields just because it is like a power thing?
I think of a certain generation. It
Okay.
had this like Rat Pack kind of concept,
I see.
but they weren't cool, and it wasn't a choice, right?
Okay.
So like, I don't think that if you work in politics as a woman, you're wanting to be in this environment. You're
No,
wanting to
obviously
do
not.
really important work, and then there's this asshole who's
Sure.
like, "Do you like cigars?" And you're like, "I just want to run the state's housing
Yeah.
program, fair housing."
It's also a weird thing. I've met 2 women I like cigars. I've met 2 women in my entire life who aren't like gross, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and like, even like my girlfriend is like, gross. Brush your teeth.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, there was an example.
Our guest, Mike.
Well, if you have one, I feel like if I'm
Jesus,
I'm
Mike,
a,
we have
I'm
guests.
a cool member. I've got my soda, but I've also, Pabst. You know what? When I was in college, we had a Pabst thing.
Okay. You went to an all-girl school?
Yes,
and you
I
had a Pabst
did.
thing?
Yeah,
Speaking of which,
girls can rock on too.
as long as we're shitting on this, why are they subpoenaing? Cheers.
Cheers.
Why are they subpoenaing gynecological records?
There's no answer for that.
So like,
It's a fucking intimidation exercise.
yeah, because there's no. It's okay. So
They're intimidating this fucking young woman who's the same age as his daughter. They're literally just trying to bring her as close to, and they did. She said this when she stopped the federal lawsuit, trying to make her come as close to killing herself because they've harmed her family, all of her friends, all of her close friends, all of her family members had to get attorneys that they can't afford just to
I'll buy
defend
her a
themselves.
beer too if that'll make her feel
She's
better.
amazing, and I try not to say her name in these
That's
things
fine.
because she's a beloved friend now. People are like, Lindsey ran a scam to come. I mean, this is all ridiculous. She's a dearly beloved friend now because we've been through hell together.
Sure.
But
Now you know each other.
she doesn't deserve any of this. And she literally, when she
I can't. What I was gonna say is like, there's no rape allegations, so there's no like rape kit potentially that could exonerate this man.
he's just trying to harass her. He's trying to humiliate her.
Yeah, because we were saying that I don't want to see if
What are they going to bring forward?
Like, if either of our chicks' gynecological records were on the kitchen table at home.
If I see anything that says OBGYN, that's going in a drawer before my daughter sees it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, literally, to your point, it's like a non sequitur.
Yeah. Okay.
It is a complete non sequitur. There's nothing legally, some weird arcane law that you don't know about because you're not a lawyer that says, if this is a sexual harassment lawsuit, we need the gynecological records. His taxpayer-funded attorney is literally just requesting those to fucking scare this woman and humiliate her until she stops the lawsuit, which is what she did. And then she signed a paper basically saying, if I wanted to continue to be alive, I had to stop this. I mean, and imagine it's a woman like half my age almost saying this.
No, I mean, it's creeping me out. Like,
I'm
I mean, the
creeped
thought
out.
of it is like the thought of the idea of like, because there's nothing there. And I can't imagine, you're saying a woman half your age, you're saying a woman, I'm going to assume in her early 20s, mid 20s, right?
Yeah.
I imagine she doesn't want people even thinking, she does not want the readers of the New York Post thinking about her pussy, is probably a fair point, right?
Yes. And by the way, the day of his campaign announcement, this coward gets up on stage and he doesn't answer any questions about anything like this. And then he has his taxpayer-funded attorney come online when actually reporters come and say, what about those gynecological records that you subpoenaed from this young woman? And she's like, well, if Charlotte would just, if this young woman would just let us publicly say why we're requesting her gynecological records, then we would. So she's literally adding
She's basically
a
saying,
smear.
Yeah.
She's adding a smear and putting the onus back on this young woman to say, let us out of this privacy aspect, even though you're not even suing anymore. And I'm here because I'm on the dais, so to speak, of this man's mayoral election announcement. And she's smearing her again, and all of that is being paid for by New York taxpayers.
Which, how is it? He's not the governor anymore. How are we still paying for it?
Because there's this public officer law that says if conduct happens while you were in office that you were accused of, they will pay for it.
Wow, that needs to be reformed. I'm anti that, Mike. Put that on the docket for going forward.
The problem is, you know who has to reform that?
The county committee?
Yeah.
I wish. No, the people who would no longer benefit from that legal representation.
Well, it's kind of like how we'll never get a proper insider trading law, right?
Yes, exactly.
And Congress's pay will never be voted to go down.
No, or stay the same.
I mean, something's got to give. We're
With
having
those things.
Yes.
It seems like there is there's a massive movement. The social media in the last year of people being like, so how did they make all that money on this salary?
Any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, I'm a Democrat, but Nancy Pelosi stock trader that people follow, it's insane.
Oh,
my
yeah.
husband's in finance, and he's like, what? I'm like,
Even he thinks the unusual whales bots are fucking on point.
Yes. Well, there's got to be one in each relationship, right? You got,
fair.
you know,
You need somebody
either side
to
of the
know,
beast,
That's-
right?
all right. There was actually something I wanted to talk. Could we talk about the COVID stuff? And I know you
Yes.
worked on economic development.
Sure.
So there was an article that came out, I believe it was New York Magazine, that was 500 things we loved about New York.
Yeah.
There were all these businesses that went out of business in New York City during COVID. And what we were talking about on this show a lot, me and Mike, was we would joke about this being a dead zombie city because like
It
people
was
were
I Am Legend. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like I Am Legend.
but we were here every day and we were fine. You know what I mean? Like we were coming in to
I
do
think
the
yours
show.
is a little bit more fun than my experience was, but yes.
Well, to be fair, Tompkins Square Park had like 3 different bands every night, and
That
they
is
were
so
doing
cool.
they were
That
doing
is so
they were doing
cool.
illegal boxing matches in Washington Square Park.
You know how much cooler that is than De Blasio and his wife dancing alone in Times Square?
Yeah.
Yuck.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Oh
my
yeah, I
baby
forgot
was
about
in-
that faux pas. Ew.
That stunk.
Gosh, the good old days of, all of these things.
Yeah,
No,
but
not really.
so my thing was it was the movie.
I'll be honest, I miss,
I miss de
even though it's,
Blasio.
even though it's you miss De Blasio?
Yeah, I do.
You're the one?
I might. Well, right now, yes.
Well, to be fair, I said this the other day. Eric Adams took bribes from Turkey, didn't even get hair plugs. What a stupid move. How do you take that many bribes from the Turkish government without getting free hair plugs?
Because if you show up with hair, then it's obvious.
I
He shows up with a
mean-
full perm. He looks like Prince in the 90s.
I actually think there's this is like that's like the floater story, but all the time he spent at Zero Bond and all these other places.
Sure.
There's a much deeper story.
Bo
here that
Dietl
we
used to
don't
do a
know about.
podcast here.
Okay.
And if you're buddies with Bo Dietl, you shouldn't be the mayor. Because he
If
once
you
said
and
on a
Bo
live
Dietl
podcast.
have a sitting table at Rayo's every
Yeah.
Friday night.
Oh,
You should
really?
be
Yeah.
disqualified.
Yeah, they were hanging out together at Rayo's every week, him and Bo Dietl.
Yeah, I
Known
mean-
corrupt cop Bo
I
Dietl.
mean, I honestly like.
Have you seen the video? You must have seen the video of him when he was Brooklyn Borough president with the
absolutely
drugs.
not. No.
Have you never seen the video of
No.
how to inspect you? Oh my God, I love showing this to
I
people.
did not grow up here. I mean, my dad's from here, but I didn't see some of this stuff.
Oh God, you have to find this. Yeah, I've shown this to like 10 different guests on the show, so I know Mike could pull it up quickly. It is. You literally look at this and you go, how does this guy pass the police department test, let alone become... He was the Brooklyn Borough president at the time, who he replaced Marty Markowitz, who,
Wow.
to be
There we
clear,
go. There we go.
Marty Markowitz hated me, personally. Not by name, but by face, because I used to hang out in front of the same bodega every year at the Mermaid Parade, drinking 40s with my boys, and then...
But that sounds fun.
It was a
The
blast.
Mermaid Parade?
But everybody would be cheering for Marty Markowitz, and he would get to the same place every year for 6 straight years, and we go, "Fuck you, Marty! You sold out the city to Thor Equities, and you could suck my balls." And
Honestly,
he would just
that sounds amazing.
he would just go like this immediately every time.
I actually think you have a future in this mayoral primary. Do you think you want to re-engage that kind of activity?
I would certainly work in Corinne's administration.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
She's
I already
amazing.
signed her petition. I couldn't even sign my own petition because I
She's
signed hers.
amazing. She's
You
very
are-
smart.
You're a registered Democrat, right, Chris?
I have always been a
You
registered.
better get out. I wish I could get out to the polls for Corinne. I genuinely wish I could. I'm so mad that I don't.
Mike's a convicted felon.
No, I'm a convicted independent because when I was 18, I was like, I'm not gonna let any party control me.
I'm an edgy boy. When I was 18, the Democratic Party offered me $10 an hour tax free. That's how I registered to vote.
That sounds very New York City.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Truly.
It was a real Tammany Hall move.
Yes, it is. I don't think we're that far. Oh my God. No, that video. This is amazing.
You seen this?
Of course I have.
Oh, okay. So you have seen it. So the part where he just goes, "What's in here? A bunch of coke? Why is there so many
items in
guns?"
the room. You can look in the jewelry box. A jewelry box of this nature,
God.
maybe a simple jewelry box, but if you look through it closely, you don't know what your child may be hiding. For instance, a gun could be hidden, a small caliber weapon could be hidden inside a jewelry box. Look at the various colognes and perfumes and photos and pictures.
By the way, clearly
You should always, when
didn't
your
measure
child
his
bring
TV
in his
stand because the
popular
cable box is
knapsack with many different
upright.
locations.
Also,
Look
didn't
through it to
measure his
see
suit
what
at Joseph A.
exactly
Bank.
Yeah,
is
right.
your
It's very
child carrying,
ill-fitting.
in addition to a book. Something simple as a crack pipe, a used crack pipe. Could he have found it
Oh
on the
my
street?
God.
That's quite possible. But this is a discussion piece where you should start speaking with him to find out what is he doing with it.
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, that takes me back. I feel like that was a kinder, gentler time in Eric Adams'
That's fair.
life cycle.
He is talking like a guy who got out of prison and immediately took a real estate course. That's how he's talking.
Did you see the one where they edited that to be like, who knows what's hidden here? Maybe it's the state of New Jersey. Because they were saying he lived in New Jersey,
Oh,
and
okay.
everything was like, right here. Do we have New Jersey?
Oh, I mean, look. The trash revolution is working. I haven't seen a rat ever again.
Really?
No.
Yeah. I was
Of
like,
course not.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to see one on the way home.
Yeah, there's probably 3 in the backyard.
I mean, there's also the union rats, and so, we
Oh, the
gotta
big
see those.
inflatable
Yes,
ones?
yes.
We were saying Those things cost a lot. We did an expose on how much the union rats cost on the show.
Did you? I'd actually
They're
like
like
to know
thousands and thousands of dollars. We did it a while ago, and we were like, why wouldn't you just buy a bouncy house?
That would be actually pretty cool.
You could rent a bouncy house for a weekend for cheaper than a union rat.
That's actually, you know what? Maybe that's the next generation modification of like new union leadership.
A bunch of Teamsters jumping on a bouncy house will get more attention than one of those rats at this point.
Honestly, that is genius. That would get more attention than pretty much anything.
Yeah. A bunch of mooks just jumping around.
There you go.
I would love it. And they were all smiling. You're like, I've never seen a Teamster smile in my life.
I would love to see that. I would cover it. Like if I were a journal, like people are always like, how do I get them to cover this news? Bouncy Castle.
You know what?
Princess Bouncy Castle.
Clip it, Mike. That's the clip. But another video. All right. I'm hoping you haven't seen this one.
Okay.
I want to shit on Chris Cuomo. Now, did you ever have to interact with Chris Cuomo?
I met him once, maybe twice. I remember vividly one time meeting him.
Okay. Was he an asshole?
Yeah,
He's just another
come across as a real juicer.
Dumb jerk off who thinks
Dickhead.
self-important
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah, I mean like Nepo baby. We gotta get in their Nepo baby shit.
So I refuse to call him Fredo because it pisses him off in a
my
way,
God.
and he pretended it was a racial slur, which it's not. They were just calling him the Cooper Manning of New York politics. So now I call him the Cooper Manning of New York politics. He's the Manning brother who blew out his knee in college.
Oh my God.
So can you pull up the video of Chris Cuomo that there would be no way that our fans would be okay with us not showing you this?
Oh my God.
And what to think about and what to say. Thinking about how to discuss what matters. And as I'm walking, I see this guy.
Oh my God.
Car hit him. Very weird. His wing is broken. What are you supposed to do? Well,
This is so psycho.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. This is the best part of the video.
I'm not going to kill it.
I honestly am.
I'm just gonna blow cigar
Sorry.
smoke in this bird in
I'm
his
not
dying
gonna make
bird's
him
face.
smoke my cigar. But
Ew.
How do you think this is okay?
do what you can. So,
I mean, he's probably suffocating
holding
the
him.
fucking bird.
And then no, but here's the thing. There's all of a sudden,
take
watch
him
this.
home. See how he does.
And
See
then
what happens.
when does the
Probably
cut
call
happen?
the vet.
There's a crazy cut, and then all of a
Ask him
sudden
for
he
some
doesn't have
advice.
the bird anymore. This video is a half an hour long. This is the beginning
Why?
of it. He does not have the bird by
Why
the
not,
end of the video.
First of all.
Oh.
Now, sometimes it seems unavoidable.
So now
Yeah, the
you can
bird's
tell-
gone.
Yeah, the
Well, I
bird
have
is
a
gone.
boss.
He's holding his phone in the hand that the bird was in.
Oh, I'm on TV. There's
Is
an
this
audience.
a live?
This was a live. This was an
How-
Instagram live, and the
Oh
amount of
my
people who have
God.
asked him. I hope in Discovery we find out what happened to the bird.
Oh my God, these people are psychos.
Can
Yes.
you do that?
Yeah, that's literally hurting a small animal. You know, he just whipped it into the woods at some point. There was a weird cut in that video.
He definitely did. And
Yeah.
you know what? Like, you literally, there's a bird center in the city. It's like the only one in the city. You can bring a broken arm bird to. You
Okay.
can bring a shock bird. Like, I had a bird that we were not sure if it broke its neck or if it was just phased, and they saved it. Like, this guy probably killed the bird.
Same thing has happened in the backyard here before. We've had injured birds that
Yes,
we've
you can
called
bring, like-
the bird sanctuary, and they'll come pick it up for you.
Dude, I brought my
Yes.
niece
They
upstate.
come pick it up?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I
Yeah, they
brought my
can.
niece upstate to drop off this squirrel at like the only place that would take care of it, like up near Utica.
Yeah.
And she was like, "We have to help the squirrel," and I was like, "Okay." It was all day, and it was like me and my girl brought her to bring the squirrel in, and I'm looking at this lady who's like not gonna be like, "Yo, this squirrel." She's looking at me like, "You know, this squirrel is fucked. Do
Yeah,
not."
but you made the eye contact, like, don't fucking say that, right?
Yeah, we both like looked at each other.
Okay,
She was never
okay.
gonna do it. She saw what was happening. It's my sweet little like
Yes,
niece. She's like
yeah.
4 at the time.
Don't mess this one up,
Yeah,
lady.
and so I'm looking at her, and she's like kind of she's giving me this look like, please, like I could tell she's going, please don't tell her she can come visit this squirrel. Like this squirrel is not lasting, and I'm like, well, we'll see what happens, sweetie. It's gonna be, we know it's gonna be fine, but they just, they need to let him out with his friends again as soon as possible. So I don't know if we'll be able to get back here, and that's kind of how I handled that. And this guy was on CNN throwing birds into the fucking woods.
Here's my question. We didn't see the car hit the bird. How do we know Chris Cuomo didn't injure the bird.
He could have planned. I
For
mean,
the
he might be a
photo op.
serial killer.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put anything past these people. His
So-
brother got rid of the dog, and like we don't even know, or I don't know if he got rid of him, but like the dog was no longer there anymore. The
I feel.
sergeant or whatever that
By the
fucking
way,
dog's name was.
it just reminded me of the.
Oh god.
Do you ever see the Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson gets accused of sexual harassment?
No, I haven't seen that one. Do
So,
I need to watch it?
It's very funny. Yes. Homer Simpson did not do it, but in the video, it's like people get caught up. But there's a part where the news is like focusing on his house. And they're like, at one point, Marge Simpson put the dog out, possibly because it was harassed. We don't know.
Oh my god.
All right, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. This has been very fun.
I want to know though,
Yeah,
because you do have lawyers who are looking into him and his family, correct?
I do have lawyers, but you know, we're just trying to stay out of the bullshit that he's putting these women and everyone else through.
Right. So I'm saying though, can't you have them look into the bird?
They could probably, yes. I mean, literally, lawyers will look into anything you ask them to.
All right.
However,
How much do
there is
we have
available
to-
hours. How many?
How much
Can you ask
we
how many?
pay your
Yeah,
lawyers?
yeah. Actually, we will pay up to 1 billable hour, and I'm sure your lawyers are significantly more expensive than mine. But I will still pay up to 1 billable hour
do you
if
know
they
how
look
much
into the
one
bird.
billable hour of any attorney is? It's like they just breathed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But
you
if
know-
they can send him, if they can get some sort of document saying that they sent Chris Cuomo, they're demanding to know what happened to the bird, I will pay. I'll pay whatever it costs.
You know what the more embarrassing thing for him is? He had this whole lawsuit, and you're like, oh, this isn't going to be funny, is it? Because I'm not, people are like, oh, that's not funny, that's just dark. But anyways, he was like, I'm going to sue CNN for firing me because it wasn't fair, and I'm going to sue them for like hundreds of millions of dollars. And now, like last week, he's like, I want everyone to be okay. I don't need hundreds of millions of dollars. I just want people to know I didn't lie.
I have
So
a
they fucking
Newsmax
aren't getting
contract.
any. So they aren't.
Yeah.
He's not getting his fucking settlement. And you
Oh,
want to know?
okay.
He's
I
not
don't
getting a
know. I'm
fucking
just. I'm
penny.
trying to read it. I'm trying to read the tea leaves.
But how funny is that you spent your own money, never asked for any money.
Yeah.
He probably had a pro bono lawyer that was going to work on whatever settlement he
Yeah.
got, trying to
He
get
has
100
Brian
mil.
Friedman. He has a very expensive attorney. So that means if he's not getting what he wants, which is what he's telegraphing right now, he's like,
Sure.
I didn't want that. I just
Sure.
want the world to know I didn't lie.
Meanwhile,
that
he
means
got
he's
exposed by our good friend Dave Smith on Patrick Bet-David's show.
Really?
Did you see this?
No.
Oh, so Patrick he does work for. So Chris Cuomo has a contract with Newsmax and Patrick Bet-David.
I don't know that one. Okay.
Okay,
explain
so
that to
Patrick
me.
Bet-David's a guy from Florida. He's a Republican. He has his own like kind of podcast situation.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Smith is our buddy. He's a libertarian. He went on there to debate COVID policy with Chris.
Yeah.
And so essentially, Patrick Bet-David's team was upset that he had hired Chris Cuomo.
Yeah, I would be.
So
fucking
they
upset
had
too.
compilation videos of every time he said, I never said that, they had compilation
Oh my
videos
God,
of
I wanna
him
be
and
friends with this
everybody else
person.
on CNN just shitting on him, going, he was like, I never said Joe Rogan ate horse paste. And then there was 15 clips of him saying that Joe Rogan ate horse paste.
I think I need to find out this person. You know, enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of stuff.
That's fair. I can connect you guys.
I would like to be I'm not saying that we would be enemies. I'm just saying I feel like I need to know him. And you know what? I'm just going to leave this out here.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's problem wasn't just that he lied for his brother.
Sure.
The
No.
thing that they didn't talk about is that a woman accused him of sexual assault.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Whoa.
And that's
Yes.
just not public.
No, it's referenced publicly
Oh,
in
okay.
CNN's filing, but it actually happened.
But there's never been, I haven't seen much news coverage of it.
Yeah, because not every woman wants to come forward publicly, but there
I
is
see.
that man is a bad man, and I will tell you he's just like his brother.
So he's the same.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. You know what, women, it's not just on the bathroom walls that we write information.
Okay.
We talk to each other.
I'm
And
aware.
that guy's a bad guy. This is a bad family. His sister was in the New York Times smearing all of the women he harassed, and she literally came out saying in the New York Times, we've got to make Lindsey Boylan afraid so she shuts up. I mean, that's this family. These people are the worst people, and Chris Cuomo's that way, Madeline Cuomo's that way. All these people are the same, and they're just bad. Now you need to say something funny because I just made it like too dark and serious.
Shit.
Go
All right.
something funny.
All right, and I'm gonna wrap it up on this. All right, Italians even shouldn't like him because he did date that lady Sandra Lee. Do you know what she was famous for?
Oh, that's
Semi-homemade cooking.
Yeah, you can't do that.
70% processed shit food that's prepackaged. She just add a couple fucking cloves of garlic.
Real Italians
What would
don't do
his
that.
grandmother fucking think, Mike? Ah!
Wouldn't be
Maron.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up on that. Where can people find all your stuff if
They
they want to follow you on Instagram and stuff?
They can follow me, Lindsey Boylan NY on Instagram, Lindsey Boylan on Twitter, and Lindsey Boylan on Blue Sky. And I'll probably get TikTok at some point, but not really on there right now because I'm too old.
They
Not like the other victims of
I had
Andrew Cuomo.
I had such an old phone that the first time I tried to put TikTok on it, it made my phone hot, and I was like, I gotta delete this.
I mean, I think my phone gets pretty hot all the time because it's like.
All right, well, we got another show coming in, so thank you so much, Lindsey. Good night, folks.